being here. We have several representatives from MakRIF University Management. You're all most welcome. Thank you for being a part of us. We also have several participants online, representatives from development agencies, from different line ministries that we have worked with. Thank you so much for being a part of us. Professor William Bazeyo, it's my humble pleasure to request you to come and speak to these participants, officially welcome us here, but also those who are online following through the program. Thank you.
Our chairperson of council, Mrs. Rona Magara, our vice chancellor, our deputy vice chancellor in charge of academic, first deputy vice chancellor, Professor Umar Kakumba, our DVC finance, Professor Josephine Abukenya, representatives of management and council members that may be here and online, colleagues from the GMC, our visitors, Agre and the others that have spared your time to come and join us. Ladies and gentlemen, some years ago, Professor Barnabas Nawangwe offered himself to become the Vice Chancellor of MakRIF University. And the key thing that he talked about that he would do to change what MakRIF was as he was coming as a new person was to make MakRIF a real research-led university. That was his first promise. So we are here to witness one milestone that shows that he has achieved that and we are on the right track. And give him a clap. The second thing that he said, that is actually a mandate of the Vice Chancellor and his office that had not been done by his our previous leaders, his predecessors, was to mobilize resources for this university. Use his office to mobilize resources, that resources are available for everybody in the university to do research, which was his number one. And he achieved that by using his university and his team, which at that time I belonged to, and we mobilized resources. This is a second milestone that he has achieved, to mobilize resources for this university to do research, to achieve number one. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you, Chair Council. You are the first female Chair Council of MakRIF University in 100 years. You came in at a time when MakRIF was still trying to find footing. We have found the footing because you have stuck to the principle of being a leader. You don't have this side and this side. And I want to thank you. But most important, I want to thank you for supporting the Vice Chancellor and his team to put in place things that actually make a university develop and grow. A university in the 21st century, where research matters. You talk of MIT, you are talking about research. Talk of Harvard, you are talking about research. To having policies that actually protect the university. So even if you were to say, oh, after this time, I'm not coming back, you have left a landmark. Some of you who know me very well, I always use this example of the snail. And I'm not going to repeat it because it is wrong. But the snail leaves a trail to show where it has passed. Uganda is not so endowed that it goes through or leads the others to fund research. But it is our leaders who value research and the outcome of research that commit the little money that we have and fund research. We have had several calls. RIF 1, when we got this money, by the way, some people in the Ministry of Finance said, but will MakRIF be able to consume all the money and use it? If not, if you return it, we shall not give you more. First RIF, we had 704 proposals. And these proposals are not reviewed by this team, but they are reviewed by international recognized reviewers, which we have a database. Nobody has that database. 296 were funded. And I want to tell you that 99% accounted for the money, and Auditor General's office said, this is very good. When COVID came, we put out a call that let us focus on COVID now that we have these resources. 298 proposals came in, 123 were funded. If you don't know, Uganda is doing so well on COVID management. 385 applications, we funded 168. This time around, we had 457. We are going to fund 123. But look at the next table. Look at the next table. See where your college is. Does it mean that you people who are there, you don't like this program of the Vice Chancellor? Is there somebody undermarking you when you write your proposals? Is there a deliberate effort to make sure that you are not funded? VC, in your talk and the visitation to colleges, I need you to address this. Because when you look at one of our largest colleges, nearly trading down, nearly being beaten by institutions like mobs, you feel bad. But I want on this slide to say, here we have shown what is under MakRIF. But I want to tell you that the following universities, for the media and everybody listening, and policymakers, the following universities have participated and received resources approved by the GMC to do projects in their universities with the lead from MakRIF for accountability purposes, but mainly done by the universities. We have MOBs that you have seen there. We have Mbarara University. We have Bustema University. We have Gulu University. We have Kavari University, Bishop Stewart University, Nkozi University, and Muni. All these universities have had some of their faculty benefit from this RIF funding for MakRIF. So I want to thank you, VC, for allowing the money to be shared amongst other universities in this country. This information may not have been available for some policymakers who are saying, why MakRIF alone? But we have the statistics. And in this RIF 3, we have those universities still represented. This is a summary of the other one. I think this man has a lot of art. That's the summary of the other thing. Yeah, I think it looks nice. And this is the applications by research agent. I want to say one thing. When RIF or when resources were given to MakRIF, initially, the Minister of Finance was asking us, what are you going to study? And our answer was, we are going to study by zeroing in the problems, the gaps in the different disciplines in this country, the different ministries. But when we came here, we said, where is the national research agenda? Many countries have research agendas, and then universities have their research agendas, which are drawn along or informed by the national research agenda. McKinney University had a quasi or whatever research agenda. But when we got these resources, the GMC agreed that we actually draw the national research agenda to help this country. We brought in stakeholders. Professor Nawangwe opened these meetings. We brought in stakeholders from industries, from ministries, from academia, research institutions, and we developed the research agenda, aligning it to NDP 3 and the other needs of the country. And then we said, we will now do research to inform or to answer questions that we have found on this national research agenda. And we shared this national research agenda with the Ministry of Science, and I understand they have a consultant who is interrogating it to see that they make it a document for the country. People apply for these resources using, or we look at the core addresses, the research agenda that we drew. I wanted this slide to be the slide that the VC you'll use when you're talking to other colleges, all colleges. Those are the percentages of the awards that you are going to see. By gender. Chairperson of council. When we were there on graduation, the figures that were read, we saw 49, 51, close to that. We need now to use GAMSU to actually improve this. This gap must be closed. Ladies and gentlemen, ladies who are listening, we need to close this gap. Even if you are fewer as a staff, I don't know whether that is true, but we need to close this gap. I want to congratulate all those and thank all those that respond to our calls. When we put out a call, we put out a call so that you bring what you know, your knowledge, for other people to benefit by doing research and disseminating. We have some products of RIF. I have seen them here. Some people are eating them. And we have many others, as the VC may tell us. But all in all, ladies and gentlemen, let us embrace the vision of our leaders and we run with it. And McKinney will not remain the same. Thank you very much.
Over to you, Nantambi, to take us through the value addition and also give us some cookies.
I'm Nantambi Bridget, and I'm a master's student, agribusiness management. And the project is a very big team and is being headed by Professor John Mujisha from the School of Agricultural Sciences, College of Agriculture and Environmental Science. The project title is Enhancing Value Addition on Potato Sorghum Enterprises for Improved Livelihoods in Uganda. And we abbreviate it as EVAPOSIL. So if I can give you a brief background of the project, the project has two components. It has the innovation component, and it also has the research component. The innovation component, that one involves the determining of the processing protocols, that is the potato and sorghum as the raw materials, as we come up with these high value products. We have a number of products, as I'll mention them, and as you'll see some of them when we are showcasing, they're behind there. It also involves the optimization of the resources, because we know the resources are scarce, and also looks at the production and product testing. The research component, That one is aimed at determining the supply dynamics of the major raw materials. Our major raw materials in the production are sorghum and potato. So the research component looks at that plus the economic viability of the products we are coming up with, the profitability. Are they profitable to everyone who is involved in the value chain? We also look at the consumer acceptability of these products, because one can make a product and consumers are not really willing to pay for it. When you look at the sorghum, it has low returns to resources, but culturally it is desirable. This project went to the Kigezi region, and when you look at the Kigezi region, sorghum has a strong attachment to those people. But when you look at the returns to the resources, it is really very low, because when people get sorghum out of it, they just make the bushera, the mlamba, which doesn't really make any economic sense out of it. So this project went ahead to see how it can add value to that sorghum. So like I said before, we are all used to, especially to the part of the farmers. For these farmers, they harvest from the garden and take them to the market directly without adding any value. And when you look at that, the farmers are losing a lot, because when one adds value, it won't be the same as this other raw crop, which is just taken to the market just like that. So for us, we want to add value, and we want to see how can these crops be combined together such that one can come up with a product which is of a high value. And we came up with the flour from the tiny tubers. We deal with the tiny tubers because you realize that these tiny tubers are lost. They are lost in the garden and they are considered as market rejects, because when a farmer harvests, they take the big tubers to the market and they consume the rest, and they leave those other ones, the tiny tubers, in the garden. And from their production, about 20% of the output is non-marketable. So those are the market rejects, and farmers tend to leave them to the garden. So for us, we get those products, we process them, so a farmer is now getting 100% from their product, from their total production. And when you look at the statistics, per annum, they will lose 14.14 US dollars. So that is really a very big loss. So what is the solution to all this? We have come up with several products. We have the cookies, we have the waffles, we have the biscuits, and we have the cakes. And these products, as you can see, you'll see them there displayed. Those products are of a very high level of nutrient content, because when we are producing these products, we consider the quality aspect and the health aspect, because these days people are healthy conscious. They'll always look for healthy foods in order to eat them for their health. So our products they have high value. They have high value and nutrient content. And when we also go commercial, these post-harvest losses, those tiny tubers, which are the rejects and left in the garden, they will also reduce, because farmers will be bringing them for processing, and they'll also be getting money out of them. So the post-harvest losses will significantly reduce. So even the consumers will access the high nutrient and affordable products. Our products are of high value, and they are accessible by everyone, because when you compute the production cost, you get about 20 to 35% above the production cost, and that makes the prices even a bit lower, and everyone is able to access and afford those products. So even the incomes of the farmers and everyone who is participating in the value chain will definitely increase their incomes. For example, if I can tell you about our flour, when you get one kilogram of the composite flour, when I talk about the composite flour, I mean the composition of the potato flour, the sorghum flour, and some little components of the wheat. you get cookies which give you a worth of 7,300 shillings. And even a kilogram of those tiny tubers is about 1,500. So you get a waffles, which are about 8,000. So thank you very much. You'll be able to see our products when we display them behind. Thank you.
My name is Brian Mato. I want to present on behalf of Professor Paul Chiondo, who is the PI of the project. It's the preeclampsia diagnostic strip project. I have a biomedical engineering background, and I'm currently doing my master's in immunology and clinical microbiology at McKellar University. Our problem is on preeclampsia. Preeclampsia is one of the maternal conditions that are really responsible for a huge number of deaths from mothers and babies. And it contributes to around 500,000 babies, and 76,000 mothers globally are dying. And when it comes to, well, the slides are not coordinating. Okay. Okay, and with that, globally, around 40% of mothers really experience maternal complications, but a significant number of this is basically due to preeclampsia. Okay, and in Uganda, according to the interaction with the different obstetrics and gynecologists from Kawempe, about 6% of these deaths in our country are basically attributed to preeclampsia. Okay, and then also, but the limiting factor to preeclampsia is basically to the diagnosis. We have limited early diagnostic tools for preeclampsia. Preeclampsia is diagnosed by high blood pressure, 1/4/90, and proteins in urine. That's the standard WHO diagnostic procedure that is actually recommended. But once the condition becomes really worse, mothers experience seizures and they go into a condition what is called eclampsia. Even some other conditions start developing. We've had media personalities and key people. I think 2 years back we lost an MP because of this, but there are so many that actually die due to this. And the challenge is diagnostic options. Most mothers come late, and a few facilities can actually manage preeclampsia. Yeah, so our solution, we thought of an early diagnostic strip for preeclampsia. Okay, we called it the IPED strip. And with this, a lot of research, okay, has been done on the different markers in the urine of mothers. We thought, can't we use the urine? It's non-invasive to actually look out for a marker that we can detect. And this marker actually has a high association with preeclampsia. Along the way, as we are doing our research, we came across 2 markers. Okay, that was preeclampsia. That was we have activin A and inhibin A. At first, there was no study about these markers in Uganda, not even in Africa. The first paper was in the US by a researcher called MakRIF. So as we were interacting with different people, they said, but are you sure these markers are there in African women? We said, let's go in for those markers. So with the strip, we hope it will be an early diagnostic strip for preeclampsia based on the markers, activin A and inhibin A, low cost, reliable. So how we are visioning this is that a mother can come in the facility, maybe the routine antenatal visits, and the mother can be given maybe like 10 preeclampsia strips, and they can, before they come back in the next antenatal date, they can keep on maybe on a weekly basis or maybe on bi-weekly. They keep on checking their urine, and they'll be sensitized that in case you see this change, come to the hospital, because we want to predict. Preeclampsia starts at 20 weeks of pregnancy onwards, but our markers have actually been reported that they can be in urine even before the 20 weeks of pregnancy. We started the study by having a cohort for pregnant mothers at Kawempe Referral Hospital. We recruited them in the study. We got informed consent from them, and we were taking blood and urine sample from them. So we chose our strip want first target urine, okay? But we even took blood because it could also be an option in case actually urine does not turn out well because of the stability of the marker in the urine. Okay, so we thought of that. We said, let's use the same chance to collect the blood samples, and then we store them at immunology department at Max CHS. So we've done ELISAs. Through RIF, we're able to procure some ELISA kits, and we've quantified actually these markers because we need to know what is their concentrations in urine and at what stage in the gestation period they start to increase. That's how we came in. We started the prototype development. At first, we did a procurement of the standards. We wanted to see how do they actually respond. Because we were really venturing into something that is not so common and something that there's limited technical expertise in terms of development these strips in the college. So we thought of first testing the standards, and actually we got no response with the standards. That's the last batch of strips on the extreme left. And actually, after investigating, we found that we were having too much price from the procurement that we made. So we went in for another procurement. And what you see, we have a very many, you may not see it on the PowerPoint from the projection, but it's really very faint. Okay, so there was a response of as we're detecting that, because we are using sandwich. So we're trying to detect our biomarker, and we have a very minimal response. We then went ahead to test on the lower one on some of the urine samples that we had actually collected. What we have there is that we're having a reverse. Where we're having high concentrations of the marker, we actually didn't have a response. And where we're having a low concentration, we're having a response. And then in the strip development, we're calling it the rift effect. Okay, and then that can be explained well. But this is where we are currently. And we hope in our next stage, we want to really enhance the response, we want to enhance because we want to be a visual aid, like the normal diagnostic strips, maybe for testing pregnancy, and we have strips for malaria and syphilis. We want to be in the same way. So we hope to use probably gold nanoparticles, which can help in enhancing the response that we're having from there. Currently, that's where we are, and we are finalizing the analysis of the concentrations in urine, because they are key in actually determining what would be the right concentrations we may need to immobilize on the markers as wait for the response with that. That's where we are currently, and okay. Yeah. Yeah, so basically that is it. That slide is about the team, and we are happy about RIF and the support they are giving us, and we look forward to finalizing this phase of the project, and we will basically ask for more funding as we progress the product to the next stage. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, so the team, we have a team from our PI is from the Department of Obstetrics, Professor Paul Chiondo. There. We have the biomedical engineering unit. We have a co-PI, Dr. Robert Sechitoleko is there, and then I'm there also as a coordinator. And then we have a team of other research assistants and investigators. Here, I think the lower right, we're in Kawempe, labeling the samples that we adopted from the mothers, and then the other two in the lab trying to do the lasers and also the strip labeling. Welcome.
My name is Aya Felder from the Department of Agriculture and Biosystems Engineering, and I'm fully vaccinated. So I'm here to present our project that we worked on. We developed a software to ease this food distribution during the COVID-19 pandemic, and that can be used for other similar disasters in Uganda. So I worked with a team of 3 others, that is us. We have Lydia from SEDAT, Samuel from ESS, who was our IT consultant, and Sam Cherotich, still from the Department of Agriculture and Biosystems Engineering. So our project was awarded to contribute to low-cost appropriate technologies in response to the pandemic. And of course, once we had the lockdown, it disrupted the food supply systems, causing a typical food insecurity, especially in urban areas. So the problem we're trying to solve was the inefficient distribution of food aid during the lockdown period in Uganda. I was actually touched that on TV to see a lot of women bringing their children to the local council offices for food. So this software weakens that process. And one of the main reasons we found for this was just the poor planning of both the food stock that we had and the manpower in the distribution of the food. So we hope that this software will contribute to government ease of food aid distribution during other crises or similar disasters to avoid panic among the public. So this is just a map that I included to show the areas of food stress that happened in Uganda. You cannot remember that the food was distributed only in Kampala and Wakiso, but there were other portions of the country that experienced the food stress between April and May and June and September of 2020. Our main objective was to design and launch a customized planning software for food distribution during and after the COVID-19 pandemic. So our specific objectives were to map all the households in Kampala, design the software to include store management, logistics, and household data, and also design a real-time monitoring and data interface. So our software will use both historical data and real-time data that can be collected in the field. So when we launched the software, we had very good feedback from development agencies, World Vision, World Food Program. So we hope that some of these can begin to implement. We had specifically designed it for the Office of the Prime Minister, but we did not get a response from them at the time we launched it. So we estimate for implementation, for government implementation, we shall need maybe an additional $260,000. And then we can expand the ERP to include more modules, financial management, project management, and a mobile application. For this application, it was a web application because the databases are quite big. And we can also build similar ERPs for effective coordination between government agencies, especially with data sharing. And also my team was awarded a project in the MakRIF 1 cycle. We developed another software called OptiSpace. This was inspired by my challenges in class in the SEDAT building. The numbers have increased, but the furniture has not. So it was a space management software, but we hope to work on it further to provide 3-dimensional virtual classrooms and virtual tours of the university. So I hope the Vice Chancellor can support us with that. Thank you very much.
The Chairperson, MakRIF University Council, Mrs. Lona Magara, who is our chief guest this morning, the Deputy Vice Chancellors and members of management present, the head of RIF and the board members, or steering committee members, all the researchers present, the other invited guests, the media, ladies and gentlemen. I'm proud of MakRIF now because MakRIF works as a big team. It is because of this teamwork that we are seeing the results that we are seeing. Even if I was the one who probably said, we really need to get money from government, I didn't even know how to get that money. But it was Professor Vaze who said, I think we are going to get that money, and went ahead and actually got the money. And I want to thank him very much for this. And for Ugandan standards, it is not little money. For the first time to be given 30 billion, just like that, to do research, which the government even doesn't know which research you are going to do. That was a great show of confidence in the university by the government, but also, of course, the resilience by our chief negotiator, Professor Vazeo. And I want to say that on behalf of MakRIF University Research and Innovations Fund, commonly referred to as MakRIF, once again, thank you all for securing time to join in this engagement, where we are shortly to launch 123 MakRIF 3 awards, in addition to the 587 currently funded projects. Notably, these projects are from diverse disciplines, enabling each discipline to contribute to Uganda's development and growth. We are grateful that this engagement has also provided another opportunity for us to showcase research and innovation outputs from MakRIF University. The potential within MakRIF University is enormous, and we must continue to harness it. Regardless of the coronavirus pandemic, which continues to threaten all of us, research and innovation has continued to withstand this storm. Now, Professor Vazio informed us that, did you say our income has gone up despite the pandemic? We really want to see those statistics. But as far as research and publication at MakRIF, actually it is a dilemma. During the pandemic, our research publication shot up. For the first time, we went beyond the 1,000 publications per year, and actually had 1,500 publications. So somebody needs to study what happened, okay? So the pandemic really did not deter the researchers from doing what they were doing. We applaud all persons behind these efforts, including Professor William Vazeo, the chairperson of the McKay University Grants Management Support Unit, which is also housing the McKay University Research and Innovations Fund. I congratulate all researchers and innovators, but more specifically those going to benefit from MakRIF 3 RIF awards here present, online and elsewhere, given that it is because of their tireless creative efforts that we are all here this morning. Well done, colleagues, and let us keep up the good work. But I also want to remind those who are getting the funds that the recipients of Mark 1 and Mark 2 have succeeded and accounted 99% for all the funds. I think the 1% that hasn't accounted, they are still in the field, and they will also account. So it is a challenge to those who are getting the funds to see that indeed at MakRIF we can get money and use it for its purpose and produce results. And that is one good thing. Apart from a few, I think for all the time I have been at MakRIF, I have heard of about not more than 5 people who have failed to account for money for research. And you know, we get a lot of money for research from around the world. So MakRIF has always been known to be very good at doing work with the money given and accounting for it. And that's why MakRIF is actually a darling of donors. We get much more research funding than any other university on the African continent, even more than Cape Town. Cape Town beat us because they get a lot of money from the government of South Africa. But with the international funding, MakRIF beats all of them because of the confidence the donors have in MakRIF, and we must keep it. In a special way, allow me to take this opportunity to thank the government of the Republic of Uganda for the continued support and funding to MakRIF University. MakRIF University received 60 billion shillings to support research and innovation at MakRIF University in the last 2 financial years. I am reliably informed that the government has additionally disbursed 10 billion Ugandan shillings for this financial year in this quarter, and more disbursements will follow. I think we must applaud the government. The government is really struggling. The revenues are down. Budgets have been cut, but they have not cut the MakRIF budget. We were really wondering whether we will get money for research. It is just a miracle that it is here. But of course, I know that Professor Vazeo has also been behind there, making sure it comes, okay? But we must thank the government. The government of the Republic of Uganda has pledged continued support to MakRIF University, and for this we are sincerely grateful. At a function, I think last week, when the amount of money given to MakRIF for research was mentioned, the president said, that's very little. We are going to give more. Professor Vazeo, please follow up. Yeah, he said he's going to give more. Yeah. And indeed, as you saw, the first call, 700 applications. We were able to fund only 200. It means even if we were given 100 billion, we would still give it out, and there would still be a few applications that don't get the funding. So, and we have proved that we can use the money properly. To date, the MakRIF government fund is supporting 710 multidisciplinary research innovation projects, including the awards we are launching today. Some of the research innovation outputs to date include the solar-powered autoclaves for use in rural health centers, the pedal-operated seed cleaner, the McKellar University's e-human resource management system, which is actually revolutionizing the way human resource is managed, an electronic pantograph for improved monitoring of labor to reduce maternal mortality, integration of on and off grid to support women to distribute more electricity, the organ and tissue biobanking project, enhancing value addition on potato sorghum enterprises, among others. And we have, of course, this one has been presented this morning. This is one of the projects I'm always telling people whenever I have the opportunity, that you see, the things we are doing can actually change the economy of a whole region. And we don't need too much money to actually make that change for the investment. And so as we get all these projects, we don't want, that's the next thing we must work on with the government. We don't want people to get frustrated that they have come up with the products, but then they are stuck, they don't have funding to take it to the next level. Chair, the University of Tsinghua, which is the top university in Asia now, it is a Chinese university in Beijing, produces 100 companies every year. And the turnover is 1.7 billion. The 1.7 billion is by the companies which the university retains. But the university produces 100 companies. Some of them, the students just go and form companies, or professors go and form companies. 100 every year. A few weeks ago, I was in Turkey, and there's a university called the Istanbul Technical University. They also have a similar arrangement. They produce, for them, they told me they produce 300 companies every year. 300 companies, and the turnover is 2.8 billion euros. Of course, the government puts in a lot of money, but the university gets back quite a bit of money as part of their revenue. Apart from creating the jobs, the economy of Turkey is basically now run by a few universities. Just like the economy of Malaysia now is run by 5 universities. And so MakRIF has that potential to actually run the economy of this country. We have got other projects that have been very successful, including the McKay University decontaminator for N95 face masks, the touchless hand wash device and automation. Some of these are extremely important innovations to support the rural economy, like these handless boreholes and so on, and handless washing machines, some of which recycle the water. They will be very useful in areas where there is scarcity of water. And there are a lot of areas in Uganda with the scarcity of water. So they will be very good for the health centers and for the schools in those areas. The low-cost medical ventilator, this one has been a greater disappointment. I know, Roy, my guy, you were here. Actually, when I was in Turkey, I went to visit the UN Technology Bank. And they were saying, but we wanted to work with your people, but they said, we are already busy, we don't need another project. But the disappointment about this project is people worked around the clock to come up with a medical ventilator when COVID had just started. And we were all hopeful. We presented it to the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister said, government will support this. After that meeting, everything went quiet. The next thing I was hearing, we were importing ventilators. And we were not doing anything to upgrade this, to make sure that we finish all the trials to begin a commercial production. But I think after a few complaints, eventually people have picked it up. I think that you are working with the National Drug Authority now to make sure that we can validate this. And if we could produce our own ventilators at $5,000 instead of buying them at $15,000 on the open market, every health center in Uganda could be with a ventilator, and we could even export for and get a lot of money. Okay, and the self-disinfecting gloves is another project, and also characterization of patients. Chair, the projects are many. Every project which has presented has got a lot of potential. And by the way, we are talking of these are sort of health or agriculture related, but we have got projects from CHUS. There were people who are studying the behavior of children affected by COVID pandemic. Now that is extremely important for policy for the Ministry of Education. Okay, because eventually COVID might go, but children who have been at home for a whole year, what is their behavior? How has it affected them? These are some of the issues these people were studying. Every college has been involved in RIF, and I want to congratulate all of them. I really want to say that I'm really very happy as the Vice Chancellor of the university. I'm proud of what we are doing as a team of MakRIF University. I cannot fail to recognize the enormous work done by Professor Windsor, who is always getting the punches from all of us. But he's very resilient. He knows how to respond. When we think that maybe things, but he has done a lot to really bring up graduate training and research in this universe, and we must thank him as well. Thank you very much, everybody, and thank you, the press. Let me now take this singular honor and privilege to invite our chairperson to address us and launch RIF 3. Thank you.
The Vice Chancellor, MakRIF University, Professor Barnabas Nawangwe, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academic Affairs, Professor Umar Kakumba, Acting Deputy Vice Chancellor in charge of Finance and Administration, Associate Professor Josephine Nabkenya, representatives of government ministries, departments and agencies, the development partners, members of the university management, the chairperson and members of the grants management committee, all our guests online, ladies and gentlemen, the media fraternity, good afternoon. I'm really delighted and honored to participate in the launch of the MakRIF University Research and Innovations Fund Round 3 Awards. I congratulate the Grants Management Committee, or as your common name goes, GMC, upon the successful conclusion of the selection and award process for the third round of projects under the Research and Innovation Fund. Beyond my role as Chair Council, I'm primarily here because I share the conviction and fully subscribe to the consensus that a locally driven research agenda nurtures homegrown and locally contextualized ideas, which is a prerequisite for development and societal transformation. I'm therefore really delighted that we are launching the third award, because I'm confident, I'm sure that this will drive the National Development Plan Agenda 3. I extend special appreciation to the government of Uganda for the vision and commitment to support research and ensure that research funding is not left to international development partners. With an investment of 30 billion shillings each financial year for the third year running, MakRIF University joins the various institutions in which the government invests heavily for research, in research. Examples include the Industrial Research Institute, the Uganda Virus Research Institute, the National Agricultural Research Institute, to mention but a few. I thank the President of Uganda, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, for being an ardent believer in homegrown solutions and supporting locally driven research and innovation. The President has severally expressed strong support for the local researchers and innovators. We must leverage his strong leadership to undertake research that will enable this country leapfrog to the middle, and eventually high income status. The University Council has continually highlighted the centrality of research and innovations. In June 2019, the University Council signed off a 10-year strategic plan where the central goal is to build a research-led university. So our dedication and commitment to the cause is resoundingly expressed. Among the vital expected outcomes from any university worth its name are impactful graduates and contextualized knowledge that provides relevant and applicable solutions to societal needs and then informs policy formulation and implementation. Through RIF, these two critical outputs must be realized, and I know they are being realized. The critical link between education and national transformation that we are beginning to see must be the standard and must be strengthened. I was delighted to note from Professor Vazeo's opening remarks that the research agenda, the national research agenda, is aligned to the NDP3, and that the call plus the call and the awards were guided by this research agenda. So there is a link that is now forming. One of the challenges that we have experienced as a nation is having an education, having people who come through our education process not being able to connect with the needs in society or within with the market. And so oftentimes our graduates have to be retrained, reskilled to be able to meet the needs in society, to work in any society, in any organization. But now we're beginning to see that linkage where the university produces people that provide solutions for the nation and therefore drive the national development plan. That's a very exciting step that we're seeing. We must, as a caution, be cautious of the risk that terms such as research and innovation can become cliches, or rather the buzzwords in today's universities. I know it's essential for researchers to publish in reputable journals. Publishing is how researchers primarily communicate. It is also the pathway for the academic to be promoted. Publishing also improves the international ranking of our university and Africa's overall profile in the global academy. However, the number of projects we launch today and the several ongoing others must represent the veracity of outputs, outreach, and impact. We must produce, our research must be driven by the needs in society and by the development plan of the nation. And it's very heartwarming to see what has been showcased here and the many that I was reading about in IF 1 and 2, because they are basically driven by the needs in society. So let's affirm this, let's establish this, let this be the blueprint for our research that comes out of our university. The research must be measurable, the impact must have measurable impact on industry, community, the running of government affairs, construction of public infrastructure like roads, on medicine, agriculture, and on the other things that improve the quality of life of our people. Allow me here to interject and just affirm the VC. He mentioned that part of the challenge they're experiencing in SEDAT is that several of their top caliber of researchers were taken on by these government institutions. I whispered to the Professor Umar that that's a backhanded compliment. You're producing the caliber of human resource that the nation needs. And therefore, you have been provided, one, a compliment that you're doing a great job, but secondly, the gap that has been left gives you opportunity to raise a new group. So let's look at it from that positive side. You're doing a great job. That's the role of a university, produce human resource needed for the nation, but also bring in many more younger people who can now be trained and equipped to that level that the nation requires. I therefore challenge you today that our research must look beyond the academic accolades and put Ugandans at the center. We undertake this research with funding from the taxpayer, and we must make the taxpayer the principal beneficiary of our research output. The grants we are receiving are public funds from taxpayers. The greatest accountability you can provide to our taxpayers is prudence in the fund utilization and improving the livelihoods of the populace through the research outputs. When the University Council approves the research budget each year, our condition is that the laws that govern the utilization and management of public funds must apply to the letter. We understand that research activities can be peculiar in certain ways. Yes, those peculiarities should be considered and accommodated, but only to the extent that they fit within the law. Council will continue to uphold the laws governing our institution of higher learning. Lastly, I wish to comment on the way research in universities is structured. The development questions we face today are multi-dimensional in nature. I have reviewed the priority areas in this RIF round, and there are several. There's research under health, agriculture, nutrition, environment, technology, governance, economic development, and so on. While these priorities fit our current development needs as a nation, researchers in specific areas should not work in silos. Interdisciplinary research will enable us to cover the multi-dimensional nature of our development needs. Once again, I thank you for this great work you're doing and the hope it gives us that we can provide solutions to the needs of our people and drive the national agenda of our nation. It is now my greatest pleasure to launch the 123 MakRIF 3 awards, bringing the total awards over the last 3 years to 710. Thank you very much for God and my country.
The 123 awards are already ready for our dear Chair Council to come and scroll through as a symbol to launch, and she can be joined by our Vice Chancellor and our deputies. Please come and support our Chair Council. The IT is going to guide her on where to click and scroll through as a symbol of launching the 123 additional cross-disciplinary research and innovation awards. The team here, can we switch on the light? Is it possible? Okay, so there's an icon there of launch of MakRIF 3 awards, 2021, 2022. Wilson, is everything going on? They're going to click on it. Yeah. So there we are. Could we clap for these researchers? Congratulations, the awards are here. We are doing it the way Mama Janet usually releases examinations, UCE, you know? Yeah, we've been on pressure waiting, who is there? So that's the list. And for our team online, our participants online, we have officially launched the RIF 3 Awards 123. Thank you, Chair Council. Thank you, Vice Chancellor. Thank you, Deputy Vice Chancellors. And bravo, Professor William Bazeo. Long live. Thank you.